Welcome to today's webinar presented by Supercoder.com. Supercoder.com is an online coding solution offering Part A and B coding reference tools, resources, and not more than 30 specialty coding and compliance newsletters from the Coding Institute in one site. I hope you enjoy this short session.
In the progression. And so without further ado, on slide number 2 is just kind of the basic agenda for what we're going to cover today. A little bit of the history and the basic coverage for workers' compensation, some of the bigger issues of jurisdiction and terminology, patient registration, looking at documentation, coding and billing, and last but not least, how workers' comp comes into play with HIPAA. So basically, the work comp history, it is, in essence, the oldest social insurance program out there. It originally started in Europe in the 1800s, and it came over into the U.S. in the early 1900s. By 1920, all but 8 states had enacted similar laws. So this is not a federal program, but this is indeed an individual state program. And by 1949, all of the 50 states had a workers' compensation place in process. What workers' comp really is it's a compromise between the workers, so the employees, and the business. So in order to encourage businesses to accept the responsibility for the premiums, the employer gets workers' compensation insurance. They pay that premium. The employees gave up the right to sue that business, to sue their employer for damages resulting from a job-related injury. So in return for that, employees who require medical treatment or who miss work due to a workplace injury, employers avoid those potentially costly lawsuits. So in essence, the employee doesn't have to prove that it was a negligence on the part of the employer, and in contrast, by paying for the premium, then the employer avoids those potentially costly lawsuits. So basically, the worker, the employee, receives medical care and disability income irrespective of fault. And those, as I mentioned, the employers are protected from that catastrophic loss by a stated amount of benefits. So similar to if we were buying life insurance or liability insurance, there's a stated amount of the coverage. So likewise, there is a stated amount on their insurance premiums. Most states have requirements for the minimum amount. So in again, essence, it's a no-fault system. That injured employee doesn't need to prove their injury was due to the employer's negligence in order to receive benefits. There are a couple of exceptions where an injured employee may not receive coverage. And in the bottom of slide 4, I list those. And some of them really make sense. So if an employee hurts themselves due to a drug or alcohol abuse, if they're working in a job and they fall off a scaffold and it's been found that they have illegal substances in their system or they have a high alcohol in their blood, then potentially they may not be covered under work comp. Those that injure themselves while off duty, or if engaged in a criminal act, they're performing their job and they do a criminal act, that may negate their workers' comp coverage. Unfortunately, though, with work comp, with this kind of compromise, it doesn't totally eliminate litigation. Now some of the issues, the real predominant one early on is, did that injury occur on the job? So as I have that picture on slide 5, here's this gentleman up on a roof blowing out leaves. Now, that could be maybe he works for a roofer or he works for a handyman service, and if he were to fall off from that roof, it could be a work comp. But this could also be the homeowner that is doing it. And so in some cases, particularly for non-observed injuries, so an employee reports an injury to an employer and no one observed a slip and fall, etc. In some cases, there may be an investigation as to whether that injury really occurred while that injured employee was on the job. additional issues that come up is more towards the end of the work comp claim. The claim has already been admitted as a compensable injury, but now we're getting point is, are they at a point where they're not going to get any better? So their treatment point is close to the work comp claim.
SuperCoder is the fastest growing online reference tool with more than 25,000 subscribers. Call 866-228-9252 to get a free product demo or sign up at supercoder.com for a 7-day free trial.